Hey everybody, Rosematter here, and welcome to part 16 of my Great Ace Attorney Chronicles Let's Play. In the last episode, we finally got to really do some investigating, learn some interesting facts about this case, including the big thing about it being connected to the McGilded case, and we learned a little bit more about what Gina ended up doing for McGilded during that trial, and pretty much confirmed that McGilded was the killer, and we let a guilty man go free. But now is going to be the exciting part. This is going to be the actual trial itself, the last trial of this game. It's probably going to be a doozy. It's going to be a long one, as the Ace Attorney games always have a super long final trial, so I'm guessing this is probably going to be about 3 parts. But yeah, let's get into this. I'm really excited to find out what happened here and how this ties in to the McGilded case, so let's go. When I woke the following morning, Susato-san was already gone. Ah, yeah, that's right. Susato was leaving early in the morning, and she had that conversation with Shomes. So Shomes is all better, which is awesome. But they were talking about something, and I'm just like, okay, what were they talking about? Outside the window, the rain came down in sheets. And so began an even longer day than the last, one I would remember for the rest of my days. This is going to be so weird, not having Susato. I was thinking maybe there would be like a last-minute thing that would happen. Maybe she'd end up staying, but maybe not. Good morning, Gina. I'm determined to prove your innocence today. I'm sure we can do it. So, where's your friend then? Sorry? You know, her in the fancy dress. She told you yesterday she was leaving. Susato, or however you say it? I don't know. Miss Susato had to leave early this morning. She was already gone by the time I woke up. You alright with that, are ya? Forget about me if you like. Go and see her off. It's fine. It's not as though Miss Susato and I won't meet again. One day. Even so, but you, Gina... You only get one chance. This trial today is all we have. Good morning, you two. It's Iris, isn't it? It's Iris. And the kitty. Why did I say Wagyu? Like Wagyu beef. It's Wagahai or something like that. How are you feeling, Ginny? Did you manage to sleep? Iris, what are you doing here? I'm surprised they let a cat into a court. We're not in the courtroom, but still. What do you mean? When a friend is in need, we show our support. Isn't that right, Waggy? Oh, Waggy. Great way to show your support, kitty. That's just a cat for you. Let him have a nose around. What harm can it do? Oh, that reminds me. I brought a paper on the I bought a paper on the way here. Now, would you like the good news or the bad news? What do you say, Runo? Ginny? Oh, well, I think I'd rather get the bad news out of the way first. Nah, always take the good news first. You might not live to hear the bad. Yes, that question always gives away people's personalities. Let's not go there. I don't know about you guys, I'm definitely a bad news person first. Get it out of the way. Alright then, I'll give you the bad news first. A record amount of rain has fallen this morning, and carriages all over the capital are struggling to move. Huh? The bad news was a weather report? So I hope that Susie made her train to Dover, and the train isn't delayed on the way to the port. Oh, maybe she'll not be leaving after all. Gosh, yeah. It's selfish for me to say I hope she stays. Alright then, so what's the good news? Well, the rain is forecast to subside this afternoon. So, even if the train is delayed, it should be able to make up the time later. And here I was thinking it'd have something to do with the case, but, well, that is good news, isn't it? I couldn't give a monkey's, really. If only all good news cancelled out the bad. And look, this trial has made the headlines too. Pawnbroker perishes in pick-purse plunder, see? Huh, how do you like that? Well, let them say what they want. See if I care. I can't, because you're covering your face. Don't worry, Runo will soon show everyone that this headline is nonsense. I will? And then, in tomorrow's papers, the headlines will be, Discharged diver is dauntless do-gooder. Isn't that right, Runo? Oh, yes. Let's hope so. Of course they will. I have absolute faith in you. How was that? I was trying to sound like Susie. Did it work? Did it? It's like she was still here. Okay. So there's something about this newspaper that is going to come into play, but it's just like, is it about the rain? Well, maybe we should check out the paper and see what is in there that could possibly be useful to us. Good luck then, Runo. I'll do what I can. Obviously, I don't know the law like Susie does, but still, is she going to stand with us? I'll be by your side the whole time, giving you moral support and encouragement. I'm not sure that big thing is as comforting as you think it is, to be honest. But thank you, Iris. That's very kind of you. Oh yeah, Iris. Yes, Jenny? Well, I was wondering is all, about Sholmes. Did they fix him up all right? Yes, the operation was a great success. But Hurley still hasn't come around yet. Wait, what? No, he was talking to Susato. Eh? I've asked a friend of mine at Scotland Yard. I'm so confused. To send a telegram as soon as he wakes up. I'm sure Gregson will let us know the moment there's news. Wait, okay, so he was clearly talking with Susato. Was that like a flashback to before? No, it was at the hospital. So it must have happened after he got shot. So does he just not want to tell Iris that he's awake yet for some reason? And he's hiding it from her? I don't know. Oh, right. No, Susato-san, and no Mr. Sholmes. It's all down to me today, to prove Gina is innocent of this crime. Miss Gina Lestrade, counsel for the defense. The trial is about to begin. Please make your way into the courtroom. It's time, then. Yes, let's go, Gina. I want to call her Ginny like Iris does. Gina, Iris. Lead the way, Runo. Poor Gina. She's trying to put on a brave face, but I can tell she's worried and scared. I have to believe in her from the start to finish. That's the weapon that will secure our victory here. If I learned anything from my great friend, it's that. In the name of Her Majesty the Queen, I hereby declare this court to be in session. This trial shall determine the guilt or innocence of Miss Gina Lestrade. I now call upon the counsels for the prosecution and defense to declare their willingness to proceed. The prosecution is ready. The defense is ready. Lord Van Zeeks, my lord, remind me, how many years ago was it that you withdrew from the public prosecution service? Yeah, what are the odds that he just happens to be the prosecution for every single one of the court cases that I'm in? There's got to be a reason for it. It was some 5 years ago, my lord. Yes, and then 2 months ago, you resurfaced somewhat unexpectedly, and here you are again. I could understand if he thought there was something fishy about McGilded, and maybe something about this case too made him kind of want to look into it because maybe he knew there's some sort of connection. But the last trial was just completely separate. That was the one with the couple who threw the book and all that stuff. That had nothing to do with these other cases, so I don't understand why he would take that one. Especially because it wasn't even a murder case. It was an attempted murder or like a, almost murder. Are there some circumstances of which the court should be aware that have led to this erratic behavior? In what one might describe as your former life 5 years past, you dealt exclusively in matters concerned with the highest echelons of society and government. This is why I'm like, okay, the McGilded case, I understand. Really? Yet, today, you choose to try a simple case of burglary and murder. I confess, I find it more than a little befuddling, Counsel. There are two types of person I cannot abide. Firstly, those wealthy scoundrels who hide behind a mask of philanthropy to cheat the public at large. He means Mr. McGilded, who you defended against the Reaper 2 months ago. Yes, I just about managed to work that out. Thank you. She's so little in comparison to Susato. Magnus McGilded. If I'd known what a monster he was, I never would have defended him. And, secondly, even more loathsome, those wily scoundrels who masquerade as allies, only to effect total betrayal in the final hour. In other words, the confidence tricksters from those tiny islands in the Far East. The Nipponese. Wow. He's got it out against the Japanese and that's okay. What? Did he really just say that? He means you now, Runo. I actually managed to work that out too. Thank you, Iris. Total betrayal? What are you talking about? That torrid look of hatred in Lord Van Zeek's eyes. Was that directed solely at me? Or was he talking about all Japanese people? An alarmingly scathing explanation, Lord Van Zeek's. Still, the judiciary welcomes the return of the so-called Reaper of the Bailey, feared by all London's malefactors. Your lordship is too kind. Now, jurors, the 6 of you have been selected at random to represent the will of the people in this trial. Are you ready to hear the evidence placed before you? Wait, that's the dude. Hold up. Okay. Are these people just lookalikes, or did they get the exact same people from, like, London's a pretty big city. Can they not get different people? So, you got the woman who is, like, the maid. You've got the guy, the old man from the last one, who apparently is a doctor. That woman, the older woman, she was from the 3rd trial as well. And then that guy, that was the one that was trying to escape. That's the Russian guy, right? The one that's the ballerina was dressed up as. And then you got John, whatever his name is. Considering that he was part of a crime. Well, he didn't do the deed. It was technically his wife that threw the knife. But still, like, I feel like he shouldn't be on the... Anyway. Former lieutenant in the British Army here. Don't you know, chaps like me were born ready. Clean crockery, clean cutlery, and a clean conscience. His lordship's motto is very appropriate here, I think. Yeah, that's definitely the same woman. Everything will be stereoscopic in the future. Absolutely everything. And I'm ready for it. I don't understand it. I can't have left it in there. It's not possible. But could I have? Woman indispensable in society. Stop. Female-centric future awaits. Stop. They gotta do a better job at vetting their jurors. Good day. I am visiting London for sightseeing. I would like to take bus to Crystal Tower, please. And then they have someone on the jury who can't even really speak English? Okay. Because he's Russian. So, interesting group of people here. Is something wrong, Runo? Oh, not exactly. It's just... I'm fairly sure I recognize these jurors. Almost all of them, in fact. This feels like it's a setup. Like, this feels like it's rigged against me. Really? Funny coincidences like that do happen from time to time, don't they? But it is quite strange. The jurors are chosen at random from London's 6 million inhabitants, you know. Thank you! Of 6 million people, they seem to get the same, like, 10 people over and over again. This has got to do with Strongheart. Strongheart is behind this. I am convinced. So I've been led to believe, but something tells me I'm being duped. Very well. Now, Lord Van Zeeks. The court calls upon the prosecution to introduce the facts of the case. As you wish, my lord. Allow me to begin with a word of warning to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury. In short, there has never been a more self-evident case of cold-blooded murder. The victim, Mr. Pop Windabank, proprietor of a pawn shop on Baker Street, was shot from behind and died instantly. The prosecution presents this photographic print of the crime scene. As the court will observe, there is a single bullet wound just below the gentleman's left shoulder. The evidence suggests the bullet pierced the man's heart, resulting in near-instant death. Moving on to the findings of Scotland Yard's coroner. His report states the bullet entered the body on a rising diagonal trajectory. And what is that supposed to tell us? It means the victim was likely shot by someone significantly shorter in height than himself. Someone like the accused, you might say. You know what I'm thinking it happened? They were talking about short people. I think that whole thing with the omnibus and McGilded supposedly dying in the omnibus, I feel like that was a setup, and he's still alive, because I could see him. He's rich. He can pull some strings, and maybe that was McGilded coming back and taking what was his. He snuck in and looking for his stuff and shot Windibank and wanted to frame Gina for it because he wrapped Gina up on stuff, and he knew that she knew what he had done. So maybe he figured if he framed her, nobody would believe her because he's just like a poor urchin girl, right? That's my guess. I'm guessing McGilded is still alive. Oh. Although Scotland Yard investigated it personally, it would be kind of hard to cover that up. But if somebody is burned to death, unless they've got like dental records and stuff, it would be easy enough to like put another body in there and just make it seem like it was McGilded. The prosecution wishes to present the autopsy report and crime scene photograph as evidence, my lord. Indeed, the court accepts. Hand them to the bailiff, please. Now we have the case of there was that other gunshot that was shot into the calendar with different blood color. I now ask the court to turn its attention to this plan of the establishment where the incident occurred. The proprietor was found in the storeroom where he kept articles pawned to him. A windowless room with a single point of entry, a door to the main shop that was found locked. In this sealed chamber, there was only 2 persons present. The victim, Mr. Windibank, and the accused. It may further interest the court to know that when the accused was discovered at the scene, she had in her hand the gun used to fire the fatal bullet. Well, that's that then, isn't it? Nothing more to say. Isn't that grubby little girl a pickpocket anyway? She's one of those filthy drabs that live in the slums in the East End. Oh well, it was only a matter of time before she got blood on her hands then. What are the jurors waiting for? The girl's guilty as hell. We can't jump to conclusions here. We mustn't assume her guilt because of what she has to do to survive. My learned Nipponese friend, it is you who mustn't jump to conclusions. The prosecution has barely begun presenting its case. Conveniently, this appalling act of murder did not go unobserved. There were witnesses. Good gracious. After their testimony, this girl's true nature will be exposed. Pitiful pick-purse, or cold-hearted killer. Here's to establishing the truth. The court will take the floor plan and firearm into evidence. Hand them to the bailiff, please, Lord Van Zeeks. At once, my lord. This isn't good. I feel like the mood in here has turned very gloomy all of a sudden, Runo. I think that's because it has. Let us begin. Bring forth the witnesses to the foul murder of Mr. Pop Windibank on 16th April of this year. What? Okay, those are some interesting looking. They look like little bulldogs. Witnesses, state your names and occupations for the court. Names: Nash Skulkin. Nash Skulkin? Nash Skulkin. I always try and figure out, like, is it Skulkin because he's, like, skulking around? Nash Skulkin. Occupation is baddie. Professional baddie. Name's Ringo Skulkin. Occupation's, same as him. Tobias Gregson, Scotland Yard Inspector. That's right. We're what they call the three Skulkin Brothers. Also, I guess skull because they got the skull on them. What are you looking at me like that for? Don't lump me in with you lot. Cor blimey, that's cold. Don't you know what we're going through? It's our older bruv. Lost contact with him, we have. So we're scouring every shady corner of the capital. And then last night, we come across you, the very spit of the bloke. Ain't that right, Ringo? He is, Nash, he is. The very spit of him. So we decided, there and then, was what we was gonna do. We was gonna call ya Big Bruv Scully. Come on, leave it out, you two. What if he was secretly part of this group and he was their brother? It wouldn't be too out there for this game. Skulky Skulkin? And that's before he's run out of chips. Or Sulky. Well then, Inspector Sulky Gregson. Begging your pardon, my lord, but the name's Tobias. What I would like to know, Inspector, is what you are doing in the witness stand. The Skulkin Brothers are currently under arrest, my lord, on suspicion of theft. Thieves, are they, these three? No, my lord. Begging your pardon, but please don't lump me in with this lot. 2 nights ago, these two brothers illegally entered an establishment with intent to burgle. And in the course of their nefarious activities, they became embroiled in a far more sinister crime. By Jove, you mean to say... What an extraordinary coincidence. Yeah, there's a lot of coincidences, isn't there? Indeed, my lord. While attempting to burglarize the pawnbrokery, they witnessed its proprietor's murder. Order, order. The various trespasses of these brothers is not the subject of today's proceedings, though they will naturally face trial in the very near future. With your lordship's permission, I'd like to remain in the stand to keep these gents on the straight and narrow. Of course, Inspector. Skeptical as I am about the caliber of these witnesses, I will permit them to take the stand. Mr. and Mr. Skulkin, you will now testify before the court. Describe the events of the night in question, and what exactly you saw. Happy to. 'Cause the Skulkins never skulkin'. They are characters, all right. Get out of it. We was walking down Baker Street in the small hours, and the gaff's door was ajar, see? It was like some kind of sign, begging for us to go in, it was. But once we got inside, cor blimey lummy, we heard a gunshot from the back room. We went to see what was what, but the door was locked from the inside. We never done nothing, governor. We never took nothing. We just left after that, nice and quiet. They did take something. I just have to prove it, I'm guessing. A terrible coincidence, it would seem. At the precise moment these miscreants entered the property, an even more sinister crime was afoot. The witness's testimony is consistent with the crime scene in every detail. The door providing access to the storeroom from the main shop was indeed locked from the inside. And, within, only the victim and the accused were found. I must say, it does appear to be an overwhelmingly simple case. Still, the defense may cross-examine the witnesses now, of course. Counsel, if you please. Counsel? Yeah, he realizes they're the one who shot Sholmes. Yes. What's the matter, Runo? Sorry, I was just stunned into silence for a minute by the blatant lies being told by that pair in the stand. Yeah, they shot Sholmes, and they should be punished for it. They shot my boy. I know it's all nonsense because I saw it with my own eyes. I'll just have to expose their testimony for the pack of lies it is. Must be nice for him to actually know, without a shadow of a doubt, that what they're saying is a lie. As always, just press everything. The front door of Windibanks was ajar, you say. What time of night was this? Must have been about 1, right, Ringo? Yeah, I'd say so. Right, Sulky? How would I know? The place would have been shut at 1 in the morning, just like every other shop in town. Well, it was pitch black inside, it's true. Ain't that right, Ringo? I'm not so sure, Nash. I seem to remember a little light burning inside. What about you, Sulky, me old mucker? Leave me alone. There definitely was a small lamp burning inside. That's what alerted us to the situation in the first place. When these gentlemen ventured into the open establishment, the accused, Miss Gina Lestrade, already had the muzzle of her gun trained on the unfortunate victim. That is pure conjecture. Perhaps, but it changes nothing. These brothers inadvertently wandered into the middle of a cold-blooded murder, simply because they found the door of the victim's establishment open and ventured inside. Right, that's what happened. What are you trying to suggest? That you had to go in? Well, God moves in mysterious ways, they say. Don't they, Ringo? They do, Nash, they do. Must have been some sort of providence, I reckon. God's will often presents itself at the whims of thieves, does it? It weren't no whim, I'm dead sure of that. It weren't, Nash, it weren't, like we said at the time. You don't just find doors open in the middle of the night like that. Nah, there's no two ways about it. It was a sight our long-lost Bravo was inside. They're not very good liars, are they? Well, you can't deny it. It led us to a bloke what looks just like our bruv. I said, cut it out. Those chips are getting a chomping today. A gunshot, you say? Just the one. Are you sure about that? Yup, just the one, Governor. I can swear to that. It was Nash, it was. Ain't that right, bruv? The firearm used belonged to the victim himself. Yes, Mr. Windibank always used to leave his gun lying around on the counter. Right, I remember. When we examined it, we found the revolver was completely out of rounds. That makes sense. Mr. Windibank always used to say he only ever kept a single bullet loaded. That's true. I remember him saying that as well. So then we have to talk about why there was the other gunshot by the front door. We know it was them. We know that they fired at least one shot at Sholmes. So we can say with considerable certainty that only a single round was discharged from the firearm used as the murder weapon. Yes, my lord, we can. Okay, maybe we can press that. And I should remind the court that the firearm in question was discovered in the hand of the accused. Wonderful. We went to see what was what. The door was locked from the inside. Do you mean the door between the main shop and the storeroom? If my learned friend is having difficulty grasping the situation, perhaps a drawing would help. Excluding the shop's entrance from the street, there is only one other door, that of the storeroom. Of course there was only a little oil lamp burning, not much to see by. And the door was hidden behind a curtain and all. That's right. When we arrived, the door was mostly obscured by the curtain. Tell me, why exactly did you try to open that door? Eh? Any normal petty thief would run at the sound of a gunshot, I should think. Oh, well, your turn to rabbit, Ringo. Well, Nash, yeah. I suppose you'd have to say we ain't normal, eh? Broadly speaking, humans respond in one of two ways on hearing a gunshot or a scream. The timid flee gripped by fear, while the courageous investigate to see if they might help. These gentlemen are of the latter inclination. My learned Nipponese friend, it would seem, is of the former. Alright, somehow I just proved I was a coward that night. Despite the fact that they ran in and they tried to help. Thank you, counsels. So, I believe we all understood the door was locked and could not be opened. Proceed, witnesses. Alright, now here's the thing here. We never done nothing. We never took nothing. We just left nice and quiet. That's where I'm like, that's some bullshit. I just need to find the right thing to prove that wrong. You didn't do or take anything. Is that your story? Well, it was bedlam soon as, weren't it? It was, Nash, it was. Didn't even have time to pull me dukes out of my Lucy lockets. So with no time to take your hands out of your pockets, you just left, nice and quietly, you say. That's right, Governor. Nothing we ain't more than violence. Peace-loving nibblers we are, not bludgers. We are, Nash, we are. Never even pulled me dukes out of me Lucy lockets. So, you'd clearly like us to believe. Eh? Come again? As you fled from the pawnbrokers that night. Did you not run into anyone else? Oh, here we go. He's like, I don't even need to present anything. Well, I probably do, but it's just like he knows the truth. And did you not fire a gun at that person? Saints alive, they fired a gun, you say? Ah! Blimey, Governor. You ain't telling us it was you in the doorway. It was. What a coincidence! Why the bleeding Nora? Didn't you mention that before? You were armed with a gun, and as you fled the scene, you fired that gun. At London's greatest detective, Herlock Sholmes. They shot the great Mr. Sholmes? I did hear that, actually. There was a rumor he'd been rushed to hospital. The great Sholmes? That's beyond the pale. On the night in question, this pair were arrested by the police within minutes of the discovery of the crime scene. Their suspicious countenance rapidly gave them away. And when searched, a firearm was indeed found in their possession. Furthermore, the barrel shows signs of a shot having been fired from it. The prosecution invites his lordship to examine the firearm recovered from these brothers. Yes, indeed. Remnants of powder around the muzzle, as you say, counsel. The court will hold this weapon as evidence. Oh, I didn't even have to really do anything for that one. Now, my learned Nipponese friend. Yes? Here's to your successfully presenting the evidence. For, yes, there are the telltale signs of spent powder on the gun, and a single bullet missing from the cylinder. But the prosecution demands evidence that it was fired at the scene of the crime under scrutiny in this trial. Well, I don't need evidence, because I was there. However, the rest of us in this courtroom were not. If the defense fails to provide evidence in support of its rash claim, we shall have no choice but to toast your incompetence and move on. Evidence that these two fired that gun before they left Windibanks that night. The calendar, right? If we could, you know, if there's the remnant of the bullet, we can compare it with the gun, the bullet fired from the gun, maybe? The court demands all claims are affirmed with clear proof, except I don't have that in my evidence, so... What evidence shows the witnesses unloaded a firearm in the pawnbroker's shop that night? Okay, let's go through our stuff here. Oh, yeah, there's some blood samples. There was blood around the calendar, wasn't? Yeah, there was. Okay, let me just check. But I'm pretty sure that's going to be it. Okay, let's examine the gun and see if there's anything here. Alright, so there's ammunition still loaded in 5 of the revolver's 6 cylinders. Yes, which tells us that only a single shot had been fired from it. Exactly. The bullet that hit Hurley, in fact, isn't it? Yes, it happened almost as soon as we'd walked in through Windibank's door. I'll make those brothers pay. Okay, nothing else? Okay, so let's go to the blood samples, and we will examine that. Ah, there we go. Okay, there's the bullet right there. We don't know. That would be Sholmes, right? The green blood would be Sholmes because he was shot. Okay, I'm guessing this is what we have to present here. Hopefully. Yes, there we go. The evidence is in this portfolio. What? What on earth have you there, Counsel? During the course of our investigations, we discovered a number of bloodstains. Not trusting the police to do the job they're trained to. How arrogantly Nipponese of you. And yet I found evidence they didn't have, bitch, so... Well, anyway, we analyzed all the blood samples we found and recorded the results in this portfolio. And you claim to have the evidence the court is demanding therein. Yes, my lord. No more dallying then, Counsel. Present the pertinent evidence at once. What do you have in your portfolio that proves these witnesses unloaded a firearm at the scene? It would be this one. What is that? Explain. It's a photographic print taken at Windibank's pawnbrokery on the day of the incident. From the scene of the crime, is it? Is that a bullet hole? And if my eyes do not deceive me, it appears the bullet still lodged there. Yes, as your lordship noticed, the bullet pierced Mr. Windibank's calendar. The date shown being the 16th of April, the very day of the pawnbroker's death. The incident occurred at 1 hour after midnight, but this indicates a separate shot had been fired sometime after the calendar had been set to the 16th. That's right, and while it isn't irrefutable, the defense believes. This is credible evidence that the witnesses did fire a round from their gun in the pawnbrokers that night. Order. How does the prosecution stand, Lord Van Zeeks? He's like, okay, you got me there, I guess. Good job. If that is the direction my learned friend wishes to take, the prosecution has no objection. What? But you'll forgive me for flinging my hallowed chalice aside in disgust at the repugnancy it exposes. Yes, on the night in question, these brothers entered the pawnbrokery illegally. And, like the bold baddies they claim to be, opened fire on the new arrivals before fleeing back onto the street. Eh? Take it easy there, Governor. You're gonna land us in the soup. But he's probably just like, but that has nothing to do with what we're actually prosecuting here. We had a deal. You weren't gonna get into them details. Tell him, Sulky. Set the bloke straight. I have nothing to add. So he knew, did he? Van Zeeks knew their testimony would almost certainly expose the extent of their crimes. It would seem now that I owe my learned Nipponese friend a word of gratitude. God damn it, he always makes it seem like I'm helping him every time I feel like I got a little victory. What I mean is that you have helpfully confirmed an important fact. To what fact do you refer, Lord Van Zeeks? He's probably like, this proves even more that Gina is the only possible person that it could have been, because they didn't enter the back room. As has been established, at the point of their arrest, a single shot had been fired from the brothers' gun. However, if that shot found its target in Mr. Sholmes, then clearly these witnesses cannot be accused of the fatal shooting of the proprietor and victim. In other words, these two men have no material connection to the murder of Mr. Windibank at all. So that's it. That's it. We didn't have nothing to do with it. We didn't, Nash. We didn't. That's what I reckon. Your crimes include unlawful entry, intent to steal, perjury, and, let us not forget, attempted murder. Quite a catalog, eh, fellas? We're in for it now, bruv. Now then, let us take a moment to consider the aforementioned great detective, Mr. Herlock Sholmes. It would seem the man patronized the pawnbrokers in question somewhat regularly. Where's he going with this? Mr. Sholmes appears to take pleasure in tinkering with eccentric machinery. Eccentric? Says who? Not me. Don't give me that look. He installed a pair of machines like this one in the victim's shop. Oh, that's one of Hurley's red-handed... Finally, we're actually gonna get into this. This wasn't brought up once during the investigation. Red-handed recorders. What is that, Counsel? It has the appearance of a photographic contraption. As your lordship has surmised, it is indeed a camera attached to a small timing device. Every half an hour, it automatically photographs the interior of the establishment. The idea being that if a thief were to break into the shop, he would be caught red-handed. The prosecution has obtained the photographs taken by the device on the night in question. As the court will observe, copious identical prints are produced in quite desultory fashion. Rather prodigal, I feel. In fact, there are 2 such devices in the victim's shop, my lord. If I may refer the court to the plan of the premises, their respective positions are here, and here. You say these cameras produce a print every half hour. I'm afraid I fail to see how that would help if an anticipated thief conducted his activities in one of the many 30-minute intervals. One can only pray the would-be criminal lingers, my lord. On the night in question, the witnesses currently in the stand were not caught on camera. Heh, that's a bit of friar tuck, eh, bro? Lady Luck loves a skulkin'. Witnesses, at what time did you hear trespassing being, even though they've admitted to everything that they did? Must have been just after 1, right, bruv? Must have been, Nash, must have been. Yeah, just gone 1. In which case, minutes before these brothers entered the establishment. What scene might we expect to see within the shop? Let us examine the evidence. Oh, no, Gina, that doesn't look good. Good lord. It's the defendant. Miss Gina Lestrade. I know she didn't do it, but that's gonna be real hard to argue. She was just looking at the gun. She just wanted to hold it. Even though she broke in and she wasn't supposed to be there, she just wanted to see what a gun felt like in her hand, as the court can clearly see. The accused is pictured gun in hand facing the victim over the shop counter. Gina, please explain what this is all about, please? No doubt coercing the proprietor to open the door to a storeroom. Quite. One can only too easily imagine the events that unfolded. The court will take this photographic print as evidence, if you please, counsel. Ugh. I don't believe it. Ginny. In short, the accused is the only person who could have possibly killed Mr. Windibank. I say, my lord. Wonder if I might put in a word at this point. Go ahead, Mr. Foreman. Took a bally bullet to the knee in the Battle of Maiwand, 1880, don't you know? Decorated for it and all that, but forced to retire from service, sadly. Of course, a medal could never outshine the exploits of chaps like us on the battlefield. Yes, Mr. Foreman, and what exactly is your point? Carried on the battle after retirement, you see. The battle of daily life, if you like. And here I am now, leading this small squadron. 6 men, all good and true. And we'll all go down together, you mark my words. One for all, and all for one. The ladies and gentlemen of the jury have reached agreement, have they? Wow, that was quick, but I mean, you look at that picture, you look at the evidence, I wouldn't blame them for, just wanted to wrap it up. Is that what we are to understand? Well, Mr. Foreman, is that correct? In a manner of speaking, yes, that is the Garadeb Squadron's position, sir. What? No, it's all too soon to make a judgment. Status report for the court, men, on the double. His lordship insists on promptitude at all times, and that goes for making decisions, too. I think you'll find the truth is as clear as day now. I could reach out and touch it. I wouldn't have left it in there. I just wouldn't. But in all honesty, I can't actually remember. Situation clear. Stop. No room for doubt. Stop. Truth now undeniable. Stop. I am very sorry for brothers. They are unlucky. Very well. I now call upon each member of the jury to state his or her leaning in this matter. Announce your considered verdicts to the court.
Guilty.
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 It does indeed appear the jury is unanimous in its leaning already. What if that was the swerve, is people who play these games expect the 5th trial to be super long, but what if this was it? She's guilty and that's it. And it's the shortest trial ever. Well, I gotta be able to do that, what's it called, the Summation Examination? That photograph. It must be the definitive evidence Gregson mentioned. But Jenny didn't shoot him. No, of course not. My lord, the defense wishes to assert its right to a summation examination. Very well, the court grants permission. So, you refuse to admit defeat again. How unsurprising. We shall proceed immediately with the summation examination. Mr. Foreman, are all members of the jury ready? Abso-bolly-lutely, sir. Always ready for action, my chaps. Very good. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you will each explain on what grounds you have determined the defendant to be guilty. All the evidence clearly points the finger of guilt at this young pickpocketian. As a housemaid, I should like to see all filthy eyesores promptly and rigorously eliminated. I think you'll find if you look at that photograph in stereo, the truth will pop out. At least he has, like, he's looking at the evidence. It seems like the first two are just like, oh, she's just a filthy pickpocket. She clearly did it. If I have left it in there, I should think that there'd be repercussions by now. Mind made up. Stop. Global radio transmission of verdict to follow. Stop. In Motherland, we say never judge by clothes, judge by head. I am convinced brothers are innocent. Wow, almost none of you gave actual good reasons. This is going to be a tough one to try and, like, go on. The circumstance of the crime and the evidence do indeed implicate the defendant rather comprehensively. A storeroom locked from the inside, in which the victim and the accused were discovered alone. And in the accused's hand, the fatal revolver, the firing of which was heard by the witnesses. Not to mention, this print. Taken from a chap who's seen action on the battlefield. That young girl's on the verge of pulling that bally trigger. Thanks a lot, Mr. Sholmes. Oh dear, Hurley's cameras were supposed to help, not hinder. I'm afraid I think you have an uphill struggle ahead of you. But Gina didn't shoot Mr. Windibank. Which means there's more to the situation than we've yet to see. Agreed. You have the floor, counsel. Proceed with the summation examination.
Hold it!
You're Mr. Natsume's landlord, Mr. Garadeb, aren't you? We really must stop meeting like this. Ah, you're that lawyer chap. Well, there's a turn-up for the books. Oh, also, what happened to your wife? What happened with you guys? I am so curious. Yes, rather a turbulent time we had back then. Some extraordinary events took place at your house, that's for sure. Luckily, Mr. Sholmes and I were able to get to the bottom of it all. I think we did rather a lot for you, didn't we? I mean, obviously. I wouldn't be suggesting that therefore you should change your leaning to not guilty or anything. Wait, I feel like if anything they did worse for them because they were going to blame... Because if it wasn't for us, then Natsume would have just been found guilty and those two would have gone free. But instead we found his wife guilty of attempted murder or accidental murder. So if anything, I feel like Mr. Garadeb would have a grudge against us. Or did the two of them manage to convince the court to maybe be lenient on them? Can't be denied, I suppose. The curse of the Garadeb house was the talk of the town after that business. Lodgers moved out, and I couldn't get a bally soul to take up the tendencies. Oh yeah, I'm guessing they probably did something to help them out afterwards. Oh. Haven't had the heart to break the news to Joni yet. Bad enough the old girl's clapped up. Oh, she's in jail. Okay. Yes, can't be denied. You did do rather a lot, but not for us. That's for Dash and Sword. Okay, I was thinking that. I was like, Ryunosuke, if anything, he would be mad at you. You didn't do anything good for him at all. I suppose not. Course. There can be no suggestion of that being the reason I'm leaning towards guilty here, obviously. Obviously, but honestly, I really wish he'd pay more attention to the trial and less to juror number 2. Oh. Does he have a thing for her, or just like, ooh, new maid now that Joan is gone? Alright, let's press her. Polishing the bench, I see. Again. A maid's work is never done. Not a blemish must remain. What exactly do you mean by filthy eyesores? On my way to market for his lordship, I have to pass through the East End. The place is full of beggars, pick-purses, and crossmen, the scum of the earth. A little harsh, perhaps. Let me be plain. If it were up to me, all those back slums would be made spick and span or eradicated. At least we have people like the great detective working to achieve these important goals. You're referring to Mr. Herlock Sholmes. That's right. I like to keep abreast of his exploits by reading Ranced magazine in between my duties. He does wonders cleaning up London's streets. In my opinion, he should be declared an honorary maid of the capital. Mr. Sholmes, a maid? I would like to see Sholmes in a maid outfit. It's really quite unforgivable. Gutter scum having the audacity to shoot our very greatest detective. Oh, she's mad at them, not Gina? Minor detail, it was the 2 brothers in the stand who shot Mr. Sholmes, not the defendant. A minor detail indeed. They're all gutter scum as far as I'm concerned. Well, it just might be an idea to get our facts straight anyway. Yes, alright. I shall amend my statement. Oh, okay. Okay, those brothers are the scum of the earth. They should swing for shooting the great detective. Let's press that now. I agree with you. The shooting of Mr. Sholmes was an unforgivable act. But the purpose of this trial is to determine who shot the pawnbroker, Mr. Windibank. I'm afraid you're splitting hairs, sir. Sorry? Whether it was the thieves or the pick-purse, it was still gutter trash that shot the pawnbroker in the end. Filth that should be cleaned up and eradicated, in my considered opinion. Damn harsh. Thanks so much for sharing. Changing this maid's mind isn't going to be easy. Bruno, it was one of those 2 brothers that shot Hurley, wasn't it? Yes, without question. Well then, I'll never forgive them. Oh, Iris. Perhaps we can use this maid's statement to help us somehow, do you think? Yes, maybe. Let's listen carefully to what each juror has to say first. Oh, okay. Well, thank you for the tip, game. What do you mean, look at the photograph in stereo? Sorry? What? Don't you know? If you look at the photographic print normally, it looks as though the pickpocket girl is about to shoot the victim, obviously. But there's no indication the defendant ever fired the gun. All I'm saying is if you look at the same print in stereo, it could reveal all sorts of new information. Ah, okay. We just need another similar print, maybe? By any chance. Are you a fan of stereoscopes? Oh, how did you know? He's got like the OG Google Glass or something. He just walks around with them on his head. Let's call it a lucky guess. It never gets old seeing the 2 prints merge into one before your eyes. It's extraordinary. It's captivating. It's the height of modernity. Of course. Oh yes, I think you'll find the stereoscope is here to stay. Giving us new perspectives we could only dream of before. It's the greatest invention the world has ever seen. If only it could give me a new perspective on this case, I might agree with you. This guy just feels like he's going to be pointless to this whole thing. He's not even thinking about anything to do with the trial. What exactly have you been muttering about all this time, sir? You keep talking about having left something somewhere or something like that. Oh no, what if he was Sholmes' doctor? What if he left something in Sholmes? Ah, so sorry. As you can probably tell, I'm a surgeon. Okay, this is definitely got to do with Sholmes. A surgeon? That totally passed me by. Of course, people conducting surgery in this country aren't considered to be doctors. Oh no. Even though me and my kind are the forefront of medical science, the real brains in the field. So, what is it that you think you've left behind? Ah, well, that's a little embarrassing, to be honest. You see, I was operating on someone yesterday. Sholmes, standard thing, went in through the abdomen. But when I'd finished the procedure, I couldn't find my scalpel anywhere. What? Did he? Surely not. Exactly. Surely not, you say to yourself, don't you? Worrying, isn't it? That's what's been troubling me this whole time. Could I really have left my scalpel inside the fellow's belly? No, of course I couldn't. So there you have it. Like I said, a little embarrassing, really. That's one way of putting it. The other is manslaughter. That's exactly my concern, and seeing as this case appears to be all but sewn up, I need to focus on trying to remember exactly what I've sewn up elsewhere. Now, I'm sure I made sure everything was back as it should be. Well, as sure as you can be without being sure. This is me every time I leave the house to be like, did I turn off my hair straightener? Did I turn off the stove? Except at least it's not leaving stuff in people's bodies. I'm sure you need to be more sure. Sorry, radio transmission. What do you mean? Are you from the Far East? Stop. Yes, from the Empire of Japan. All communication with Far Eastern nations used to take place by mail. Royal Mail steamers take more than a month to complete the journey. Ah, but now we have the electric telegram, so we can send messages using electrical signals. Thousands of miles of cable have been laid along the ocean beds, connecting the entire world. Thousands of miles of cable? On the ocean bed? Makes my heart hurt my head hurt just thinking about it. You are well informed, young lady. Hee hee. But cables will soon become a thing of the past. Stop. And just when I was starting to catch up. Radio transmission is the future. Stop. Messages carried over airwaves to 4 corners of globe. Stop. Well, she's got it right. The other guy being like, stereoscopes will be here to stay. Yeah. That's not aging well. Excitement growing. Stop. Atmosphere electric. Stop. Right. Try not to wear out your fingers. Era of wireless telegraphy. Stop. Driving technological revolution. Stop. And people say inventions like the stereoscope are the height of technology. What utter piffle. I can't understand it. I really can't. They're just silly toys. Oh, okay. Let's look around. Wait, no, we want to go to over here. There we go. Let's pursue that. I feel like I'm just going to have them in a fight. This doesn't feel like anything to do with the actual trial. Juror number 3, sorry to interrupt when you're obviously fuming, but... What? Do you perhaps have something to say about juror number 5's last remark? As if I couldn't guess. Oh, you bet I do. Say that again. Go on, I dare you. Goodness, are you talking to me? I think he just might be, yes. You think stereoscopes are just toys, do you? Huh? Absolutely. I mean, really. A machine to view photographs in 3 dimensions? Why on earth would you not just use your eyes to look at the world around you? It's all 3-dimensional. What a great way to appease the man. No, I'm sorry. Stereoscopes are of no practical use at all. You just don't know. Pardon? I think you'll find that viewing a photograph through a stereoscope can unlock all sorts of possibilities. I'm obviously going to have to demonstrate. What sort of possibilities? Well, take a crime scene for example. Ah, here we go. If you had a pair of photographs from a crime scene that you could view through a stereoscope, it could reveal hidden clues you'd never even noticed before. What? Have you got any, Runo? Any prints we could look at with a stereoscope? I think I do. I've got the cat, right? It's not the crime scene, but... How about this print here? It should do the trick, I think. Oh no, do I not even have anything? That's the crime scene photograph. That's not the same thing, is it? And this is the initial one that I was given. I'll just present this one. Alright then, juror number 3. But I only have the one print. Are you saying you could do this with any two suitable photographic prints? The thing is, I've only got the one print, not two. Of course I can. Very well then. I'd like you to demonstrate. I'd be delighted to. Just give me one more print and I'll amaze you all. Oh no, I don't have it. Right? I got the cat pictures. But that's not the same thing because it's on the back of this, right? I think I did this wrong. Oh, what am I doing here? Shoots. I think I was supposed to give the two cat pictures, wasn't I? It has nothing to do with the crime scene. Why do I keep pressing the wrong damn button? Okay, I want to turn them around. Okay, I'll present this. If this is wrong. Wait, sorry? What do you mean, one more print? Oh dear. Don't you have these in the Far East? Don't you know how a stereoscope works? Runo, what? You need two photographs for a stereoscope, remember? Yes, I know. You know, one for the left eye and one for the right. I just need to get another picture and we got it. Oh, but they take pictures 30 minutes apart, so it's probably not going to happen. I remember now. But the print we have from the pawnbroker is just a normal photograph. No. I think you'll find that the clue is in the name. It's a stereoscope, not a monoscope. You always need two prints. Thanks for the friendly explanation. Well, if we obtain another print at some point later in the trial, Tint, we can always show it to this young man then. Ah! I think you'll find that know-it-all expression is really starting to annoy me. Let's get things back on track, shall we, Counsel? Okay, well I don't have that yet, so I'm just gonna have to keep going. So just this guy we have to press. The brothers are, well, I mean, they're innocent, maybe of not shooting Windibank, but they're not completely innocent. Please tell me you're not Violin Bolshevik. The Russian revolutionary. Revolutionary? Duh, I believe there is such a rumor. It's just a rumor? As you see, I have unfortunate appearance. I look like vicious criminal. Your words, not mine. Just want to point that out. People call me revolutionary, murderer, autocrat. And which glove fits? Good day. I am visiting London for sightseeing. I would like to take bus to Crystal Tower, please. Right. That didn't sound staged at all. You'll forgive me for having my doubts. To be treated like vicious criminal all the time is very painful. People do not realize. So I have much sympathies for these brothers. People say they are criminals only because of how they look. The Skulkin Brothers. Duh, maybe they went inside pawnbroker's shop. But they have done nothing wrong. That is all I want to say. Dude, really? The Skulkin Brothers did nothing wrong that night? Alright, well, first of all, that's one not-so-little misunderstanding I'll need to clear up straight away. Tell me something, Iris. What is it, Runo? The jurors are chosen at random from the inhabitants of London town, aren't they? Yes, it's amazing, isn't it? In that case, how is it that there's a Russian tourist sitting among them who looks for all the world like a revolutionary? I wish I knew. If I can't change the minds of more than half of these 6 jurors, the trial will be over. But we know that Ginny would never shoot anyone. Yes, so we need to find contradictions in what these jurors are saying and pit them against each other. I must be ready to go to whatever lengths I have to convince them of Gina's innocence. Okay, so let's pit her against this one here.
Objection.
There we go. Those two statements clearly contradict each other. Good lord. Counsel, explain yourself. Oh my statements? Contradictory. Juror number 6, you've got the wrong end of the stick. I do not have stick. I have mouse. As juror number 2 said earlier, when the Skulkin Brothers fled the scene on the night in question, they fired a shot from their revolver. Yes, they shot poor Mr. Sholmes in the abdomen, I understand. Surely you're not going to tell the court now that you didn't hear. Abdomen. Sir? Sorry, my English is still learning. You are telling the court you didn't hear. What is this guy's deal? Forgive me, I did not hear. Ugh. Ah, here is word. Abdomen, part of person's body containing stomach and other vital organs. If this is what you mean, you should say in plain English, I am Russian, not native speaker. Who thought it was a good idea to let this man be on the jury again? So, you are telling me these brothers who look like criminals were lying. They said before, we never done nothing, but truth is, they shot detective. Duh, this is double negative. Yes, that's exactly right. Lying is wrong, especially when lie is said by a person who look like criminal. Coming from you, that seems surprisingly prejudiced. This means, when they said, we never took nothing, maybe it was also a big fat lie. Well, if you go by double negative, technically they were being right. They said they never took nothing. Not they never took anything, or, you know, so... That's how they can weasel their way out. I was like, we said we didn't take nothing. Double negative, so technically if we took something, we were telling the truth. Is this true? Well, according to the police report, no stolen goods were found, so... Enough. I trust no one now. It's not the mouse's fault, though, sir. I must see with my own eyes. I must investigate crime scene myself. I'm afraid that won't be possible. Yes, it is, Runo. Easily. Sorry? With the prints from Hurley's red-handed recorder. Ah. If you compare the print that pictures Ginny and the next print from half an hour later, you'll be able to see straight away if anything was taken or not. Cooey, Mr. Prosecutor. Tut-tut. Calling on the prosecution in the middle of a summation examination of all times. The print showing the accused threatening the victim after she broke into the shop is this one. Alright, is this one we can get into the stereoscope guy? Following this, the victim and the accused moved into the storeroom. Meanwhile, the Skulkin Brothers entered the shop and similarly heard the fatal gunshot ring out. Sadly, none of these events were captured on film. This is the print produced by the camera half an hour later, after the brothers' flight. Wait, didn't they say they went in around 1? But that's showing it half an hour later. That would be before, not after, right? That wouldn't make any sense. They heard the gun... Oh, okay, this shot. I was like, I'm so confused. So this was taken after Hurley was shot then, as far as I can tell. Nothing has been taken. Oh, is this going to be like that, like a kid's thing about like spot the differences? That does seem to be the case. I can't notice anything that's obviously missing in the second print. So, the brothers who look like criminals told only one lie. They shot men, but they stole nothing. It would seem so, yes. Good. No, not good. You were right. I did not understood situation. Now I know brothers have lied. I think it is very important to continue with trial. Hey, look at that. He's actually the most reasonable of everybody, surprisingly enough. Yay, well done, Runo. The balance is shifting. Well, it's a start, I suppose. But there must be more in what these jurors are saying that I can use to expose the truth. And if I can do that, we just might turn the situation to our favor still. Thank you, counsel. Continue with the summation examination. And kindly hand that new photographic print to the bailiff to be filed as evidence. Okay, so now we've got this, so maybe I can do that thing again with the guy with the stereoscope and see if he can find a difference. Another print in the court record. I wonder if we can make use of that. Okay, the game is making it blatantly obvious that's what I've got to do. Okay. Now, do I press here, or do I pit him against that woman? Okay. Let me press him again. Oh, can it really show up new clues, though? Don't know unless you try. Okay, how about this print? It should do the trick. Okay, here we go. Alright, so let's do... That's... Oh, right, I want to present. There we go. Alright then, juror number 3. Are you saying you can do this with any 2 suitable photographic prints? Of course I can. Very well then. I'd like you to demonstrate. I'd be delighted to. Just give me one more print. So I was on the right path, I just went a little bit too early. Alright, these 2 prints were both taken within the same, with the same camera in window banks on the night in question. Yes, I see. Tell me, Mr. Lawyer. Do you know how stereographic images work? He's like, oh, I'm gonna get another lecture here. I've already been told this like twice now. Do you understand the principle? Well, I think so. I did have a lesson only yesterday. The left and right eye images need to be the same, only with a slight shift in the positions of some objects. Then, when your brain merges the 2 images together inside your head, it notices the shift as if it were depth. Yes, exactly. It's that small shift between certain objects in the 2 pictures that's really important. So, what happens if you use 2 photographs that are exactly the same then? No, obviously, that wouldn't work at all. Not for seeing the scene 3-dimensionally, anyway. Oh, of course, now I see. Ah, I think the young girl has discovered the secret. Oh, I have. I can't get over the cross-eyed, it's so cute. Oh, I wish Susato was here with her cross-eyed too. Can you uncross your eyes before you tell me? Have another look at these 2 pictures from Hurley's camera, Runo. Go on. Can you see that there's a really obvious difference between them? I mean, other than... Oh! It's the lamp. The lamp's burned down, or... Did it burn down, or is it broken? I noticed the lamp. Of course there is. There were 2 people in the first, and no people in the second. Well, yes, you can see that straight away. But now, try looking at the pictures in 3 dimensions. Alright, I'll give it a go. So to start with, you have to cross your eyes and then try to make the 2 pictures overlap exactly. Let's see if by crossing my eyes I can make the quill pens from each picture overlap in the middle. Wait. Well, did you manage to see it properly, Runo? I'll say yes, I saw it. I didn't actually do it, but I could see a difference. Ah, what's going on with these 2 pictures? Oh, some of the things on the counter sort of, they jump out at you. Yes, that's it, you see. That's the other amazing power of stereoscopes. Other amazing power? Is someone going to explain this black magic? Why the deuce do some of the images on the counter seem to jump out at you like that, I think you'll find that if you consider the basic principle of the stereoscope, you'll answer your own question. Basic principles of the stereoscope. As I said before, if you try to look at 2 identical pictures using a stereoscope, it won't work at all. It's the slight shift in the positions of certain objects that lets you see pictures 3-dimensionally. In other words, even though at first glance it seems the objects on the counter haven't moved at all between the 2 pictures, this shows actually there may have been a slight shift. There must have been a slight shift in their positions. Oh, I wouldn't have been able to tell that at all. I was looking at the lamp. Yes, there must have been. Now, hold fire there, sir. Got a reasonable grasp of the whole cross-eyed business now, I'd say. But why the devil does the shift between the 2 prints exist in the first place? Well, what's the answer, fellow? Come on, you're the cross-eyed master. What? Me? I haven't the first idea. You know, Runo, it's quite simple. It is? Just think it through step by step. The first photograph was taken at 1 a.m. Then, 30 minutes later, the second photograph was taken. But the position of some items on the counter appears to have shifted slightly in the interim. So that means that sometime in the half-hour interval, someone must have tampered with the things on the counter. Ah, so maybe they did take something after all. Zookers! Someone tampered. New information, stop. Not mentioned in testimony so far, stop. Yes, we've had to go around in circles a little here, it seems. But I'm starting to see what I should be aiming at in the summation examination now. Ladies and gentlemen, the question now is clear. We know the items on the countertop were moved, but by whom? Are you suggesting we might know? Of course. I can tell you right now who's responsible for the almost imperceptible shift in the items on the counter. Wait. Can I only pick one of them? Or is it someone I'm not thinking about? Would it be Gina? Would it be Windabank? I'm just gonna pick one of them. I was kind of hoping they would be lumped together, but hopefully this is right. Okay, good. It was the witnesses currently in the stand, the Skulkin Brothers. Wait, this does not agree with what Brothers said in testimony before. They said they did not even have time to pull dukes from Lucy Lockets. My phrasebook says dukes is meaning hands, and Lucy Lockets is meaning pockets. But is this another lie? Is this what you are saying? Yes, I'm afraid so. Now, hold on there a minute. You can't be sure of that. I quite agree. The accused is a common pick purse, after all. It's perfectly possible she went through the things on the desk to see what she might steal. I think that's unlikely. And why exactly? As you can see from this photographic print, the defendant was pointing a gun at the victim. It would seem, as my learned friend indicated, that she was coercing Mr. Windabank to open the storeroom door. I love that Ryunosuke is using the learned friend back at the prosecutor. That's awesome. In other words, Miss Lestrade's interest lay within the storeroom, not in the main shop, giving her no reason to touch anything on the counter. All of which points to one thing. The Skulkin Brothers have omitted key facts in their testimony. But the accused is a pick purse, common gutter trash. Why look any further for the wrongdoer here? Because the Skulkin Brothers are thieves, madam. No better. In fact, worse than a pick purse. I believe that these brothers were looking for something on the victim's counter that night. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, if you would condemn the defendant on the grounds that she is a pickpocket, would it not at least be right and proper to thoroughly scrutinize testimony given against her by two thieves? Ah, I love it, using their prejudice against them. Well said. I, for one, would like to hear more from that shady pair. That was amazing. Can you all see now? I think you'll find stereoscopes aren't playthings. You've seen their extraordinary potential firsthand. Wholeheartedly agree, stop. Must purchase after trial, stop. Will return home via Regent Street, stop. Well, it would seem this trial has yet to run its course. The ladies and gentlemen of the jury have declared their indications or inclinations via the mighty scales of justice. I hereby call the summation examination to conclusion, with the balance altered in the defendant's favor. 2 lean to guilty, 4 lean to not guilty. Accordingly, the jury is without consensus, and I ordered this trial to continue. Yay! Well done! Oh, by the way, what? You should hold on to this, Runo. You never know when it might come in useful. Twice in one trial would be unusual, surely, but alright. Oh, it means it's definitely gonna happen. Lord Van Zeeks, you will instruct the witnesses that the court demands additional testimony from them. I'm sure it won't spoil the bouquet to do so, my lord. I've won myself another chance to probe that pair about their activities that night at least. And I won't stop probing them until I've proven that Gina is innocent. Special shoutouts to my top tier patrons: Nana, Sparky, Dumbass Loser, Tequila Mockingbird, Punt Cake G, Joel Ostman, Harry Gazif, Asborn Kennedy, Icognito, Jared Fan, and Pirate.